and the Beast, and I'm recording on my phone today because computer's having some connection problems. Oh well. Anyway, happy Pride Month and happy early Father's Day. I think this music's up too loud. Hold on. Okay, can you guys hear me better now? Okay. Alright, happy Pride Month and happy early Father's Day. This week, I wanted to cover a topic relating to LGBTQ plus Pride and Father's Day, and it's not really what you'd expect. Oftentimes, when fairy tales are adapted, they are updated to fit modern issues. As a result, characters and/or story might drastically change. Sometimes it's for the better. One case being the Disney adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale, The Little Mermaid. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What does The Little Mermaid have to do with LGBTQ plus community? Well, while it does, it's more relevant than you might think. First off, I'd like to thank my $5 plus patrons, Anime Guy 1101, Arvin Joshua Rocks, Dead as a Doe, Loki Gamer, and Tyrannosaurus Venom. Thank you for your continuing support. And $10 plus patrons, be sure to check out your Gmail as I've sent the download link of a cover of Frank Sinatra's song, That's Life, which is one of the many patron perks, and that you can get early access to my YouTube content. If you want to support this podcast, click the Become a Patron button or follow the link in the description below if you're listening on YouTube, or go to patron.podbean.com/beautiesandbeasts. Or buy my merchandise on Redbubble, including my Pride merch and face masks, at disneyfanatic23.redbubble.com. People, I know my recent YouTube posts have been distressing, voicing my depression, and I want to thank all of you who have been supportive with your kind words. You're what keep me going. Anyway, remember that the minimum cost of questions or comments read aloud is 5 gold beans, unless you're a patron. Just keep them relevant to the discussion until the end. So, even before Danish author Hans Christian Andersen published The Little Mermaid, or Den Lille Havfrue, I do not speak Danish, in 1837, mermaids and sea creatures have been used in literature for millennia, often to symbolize change. In Greek mythology, a woman by the name of Cenis was abducted by Poseidon and ravished, and he offered her a wish in return for her fulfilling his needs. And sorry about that. And not wanting to be violated ever again, she wished to become a man, and so she was transformed into a male and given the name Cineas. I'm not good at Greek either. And Poseidon apparently also loved a minor sea god by the name of Neretes. I gotta brush up on my Greek. And had made him his charioteer. That was a healthier relationship, but ended in Neretes being turned into a shellfish by jealous Helios. Yeah, you didn't realize there was so much LGBTQ representation in Greek mythology, huh? Well, while these two myths are pretty tragic, I've mentioned them due to the water themes and their transformations. If you think about it, The Little Mermaid is a sort of gender-bent Beauty and the Beast. Though the female beast is a fish woman and is not under any curse, but she intentionally transforms into a human to be with a beautiful prince. It doesn't end happily. The original tale is a whole lot more messed up. So, the original story opens in the ocean, naturally. The Sea King of the Mer People has been a widower for many years, so his wise old mother keeps house for him. Yeah, she's hardly in any other later adaptations. The grandma also takes care of the Sea King's 6 beautiful daughters, the youngest being the most beautiful of all, but sadly has no name. Oh, don't worry, none of the characters in this tale have any actual names, because the author just wants to annoy us. The princesses each have their own plot in the sea to create a garden. The youngest is considered to be very strange because she keeps a marble statue of a beautiful human boy that had sunk in a shipwreck. Yeah, sounds familiar? As a result, she is fascinated by the human world and hear stories from her grandmother. But mermaids aren't allowed to go up to the surface. That is, until they reach their 15th birthday. And the first visit is like a sort of rite of passage. The youngest yearns more for her time up top than her sisters and hangs on to every word that they tell her about their visits. Her sisters, however, while fascinated with the new sights, eventually become indifferent to the human world and they eventually don't visit as much. Also, apparently, the 5 older sisters liked going up to the surface, singing together and wrecking ships, and sinking all the humans on it. Yeah, these mermaids are a lot more genocidal. When the youngest princess turns 15, Grandma decks her tail in oysters, and she complains that they hurt a lot. And Grandma says, well, one has to suffer for appearances. Foreshadowing much? And when the Little Mermaid comes to the surface, she comes across a ship with music and song aboard and swims up to the cabin window. Yeah, this sounding familiar yet? The most handsome of the sailors was a young prince celebrating his 16th birthday. There's a fireworks show, and the Little Mermaid can't take her eyes off the prince. Then a storm blows in, and the ship capsizes. All the other sailors make to the rowboats, but the prince is sinking fast. The Little Mermaid is at first happy because her prince is coming down to her, but then remembers, oh wait, humans can't live underwater. And so she rescues him and swims him up to shore. She kisses him and admires his beauty and how he's like her marble statue and wishes to be with him. And then some young girls come out of the church on the beach, and the mermaid returns to the sea and watches as one of the young girls helps the prince. The Little Mermaid spends the next few days pining for her prince, hugging her statue and neglecting her garden. Eventually, she tells her sisters, and Em actually knows where to find the palace, as she's seen it on her visits. The Little Mermaid then spends several nights watching her prince on his balcony. Yeesh, stalker much? In all her watching, she becomes more fascinated with humans and wants to know more. One day, she asks her grandma if humans can die if they are not drowned. Grandma says that yes, humans can die, but they have a lifespan much shorter, as mermaids can live to 300 years. But when mermaids die, their bodies become sea foam, as they do not have an immortal soul like humans. The Little Mermaid wishes for an immortal soul and said she would give all hundreds of her years to live, as if only she could be a human being for one day and share the joys of the upper world. The grandma says that this is only possible if a man had come to love her faithfully, but it cannot be as humans would consider her fishtail to be ugly, what mermaids see as beautiful. That she must have legs to be considered beautiful up there, and tells her to be satisfied with what she has. Determined to win an immortal soul and her prince, the Little Mermaid decides to go to the sea witch, who lives in a white bone house in the slimy part of the sea. The witch knows what she wants and says that she will bring her that this path will bring her unhappiness, but helps her anyway because, it's business. The sea witch gives her a potion that she must drink when she is on the shore. It will tear her tail into 2 legs, but will feel as if she is being cut with a sharp sword. Ugh. And that she will keep her graceful walk, but every step will feel like she is stepping on a sharp knife. And that she can also never become a mermaid again. And if she doesn't win the prince's heart, the morning after he marries another, she will die of a broken heart and become sea foam. And of course, as payment, the sea witch asks for the mermaid's beautiful voice. The mermaid asks, well, without my voice, what will I have left? And the witch says, well, you're pretty. The mermaid then agrees, and the sea witch cuts out her tongue to create the potion. Yeah, this is a lot more graphic than how they do it in Disney, isn't it? So the Little Mermaid, now mute, swims up to the prince's palace and drinks the potion, and the pain is so great that she passes out. The prince is there when she awakes, and she is completely naked, covered only by her hair. He asks who she is, but she is unable to speak. he takes pity on her and takes her inside, clothes her, and everyone is enchanted with her, even though she cannot speak or sing like the female servants. But she is able to dance gracefully, though every step she makes is painful. As she and the prince spend more time together, he starts to grow fond of her, but as one would love a child or a little sister. He'd actually vowed to only marry the girl who'd saved him from a shipwreck, not realizing that it's her. Of course, she is unable to say it. And, she never learned sign language, so, yeah. One day, a marriage is arranged for the prince and to a human princess. And the prince agrees to meet her, but he says to his little former mermaid that he supposes if he were to marry, he would marry his dear mute friend instead. But it turns out that the human princess is the same human girl who had found him on the beach. And so he agrees to marry her. The Little Mermaid is then very sad, knowing that this means her death is near, while the prince is ignorant in his happiness. On the wedding night, when the party is brought to the ship and the bride and bridegroom retire into their marriage tent, the mermaid spots her sisters in the water below. They had sold their hair to the sea witch so that they might save her, that the witch had given them a knife so that she may kill the prince before the sun rises, and that when his blood touches her feet, she may become a mermaid again and live. So, the mermaid takes a knife and goes into the bride and groom's tent, finds them asleep, and she is about to do the deed when the prince murmurs the name of his bride in his sleep. And she finds that she is unable to kill the man that she loves. And thus she throws herself into the water and lets her body dissolve into foam. But her good and selfless deed grants her an immortal soul, and she ascends to the heavens to watch over her beloved prince and his bride, happy to be above the world and see the beautiful sights at last. Yeah, so those of you complain about the Disney film's mixed message, but aren't you glad it doesn't end like this? It's so freaking sad. Oh my gosh. I can't even keep it together when going through this whole summary. Okay. Alright. But seriously though, the girl goes through all that crap only for the guy to choose a girl he met once over a girl he's gotten to know longer, and she dies so he can live? Yeah. You'll remember a couple episodes ago what I said concerning Swan Lake. I hate it when the only option for a protagonist is either to find true love or to die. I mean, who's to say that she won't find another guy later? And why does it have to be this guy? At least in this tale, she gets some kind of reward for her selflessness in killing the prince. Still, why does she have to die right away? Alright, so we have a small donation from Rose1920, 5 gold beans. I don't see a message here. Fairy tales were darker then. Yeah, okay. Yeah, they are. I'm sure you remember all my details on Red Riding Hood and Snow White and Hansel and Gretel a couple episodes back. Alright, and now 5 gold beans from Bella Pink Savage. Alright, what did you want to say or ask? Or is it on that comment, what was Hans on when he wrote this? Well, I don't know, but I was actually going to mention he's actually hasn't really a lot of success with his own love life. I know he at least had 2 unrequited love stories or something along those lines. I can tell you what he was trying to tell with this story. People make a lot of sacrifices for love. For women especially, they go through discomfort, sometimes pain, to make themselves prettier, as the grandma had said. I mean, even back then, they wore corsets, they wore uncomfortable shoes. We still wear uncomfortable shoes, and some women will just completely destroy their bodies just to look beautiful. You know, for the Little Mermaid, her changing her appearance actually backfired, because while the prince thought she was pretty, he was more focused on the girl who had saved his life. who he mistook for another. And because she gave up her voice, she was unable to tell him everything. People assume Ariel won her man because she gave up her voice, but the point was to show the suffering one goes through in being unable to confess your love for whatever reasons. And in the story, that didn't work. It doesn't, like I said, doesn't help that Andersen had a couple of tragic romances himself. Though really, either you get one guy to love or you die? Not the best message to send. While there have been many film and TV adaptations, the most famous, of course, is the 1989 animated film by Disney, which pulled Disney out of its dark age and into the Disney Renaissance. Obviously, the team behind the film wasn't really keen on the tragic ending either, and they settled for a happier ending. I don't think I need to explain how the movie goes, but let's go over the key differences. First of all, the mermaid is given a name, Ariel, very pretty name, and is 16 rather than 15. Not too big an age difference, but hey. She is still fascinated with the human world, but also has a habit of collecting human items. And unlike in the story, kids are absolutely forbidden from going to the surface, and yet Ariel sneaks up there anyway, all the time. And she has 6 sisters instead of 5, though they play less of a role and are replaced by male animal sidekicks. Hey, I love Sebastian, Flounder, and Scuttle, but you know it's true. And in this version, there is no human princess rival, and when Prince Eric is rescued by Ariel, he remembers only her beautiful singing voice. Also, the sea witch Ursula is made more of a villainess than a businesswoman than she was in the original tale, with plans to use Ariel to overthrow King Triton. Ariel is also given a time limit of 3 days as human. I think the writers did this to raise the stakes. If Eric doesn't kiss her by then she will turn back into a mermaid and become Ursula's slave. Well, at least it's not death. Though my question, why does Ursula even bother giving Ariel a chance? Maybe she thought that she couldn't really pull it off and wanted to make Ariel think that the deal was fair. That's the only explanation I can think of. Also, instead of cutting out Ariel's tongue, Ursula magically traps her voice in a seashell. Though there was a very subtle reference to the tongue thing in the song, if you'll remember her throwing a tongue in the cauldron. Eric, meanwhile, is hung up on the voice, but after finding mute human Ariel, starts falling for her spontaneity and enthusiasm. Unfortunately, Ursula steps in disguised as a human girl named Vanessa, using Ariel's voice, and hypnotizes Eric into almost marrying her. But Ariel's sea friends stop the wedding, break the seashell, and get Ariel's voice back, and Eric realizes she's the girl who saved him all along. But the sun sets on the 3rd day before they can kiss. Ursula takes Ariel hostage, uses her to gain Triton's crown, becomes a giant, and is impaled by a ship driven by Prince Eric. Yeah, one of the most gruesome Disney villain deaths, I'd have to say. And King Triton then makes Ariel human, and she marries her prince, and they have a daughter with a mermaid identity crisis in the sequel. Okay, I rushed through that, but honestly, who doesn't know how the Disney movie goes? Besides, I wanted to address the movie's main criticisms from my fellow feminists. Okay, number 1, Eric only fell for Ariel because she'd given up her voice, implying that men like their women silent. Okay, like I said, that was taken from the original tale, meant to symbolize for the inability to confess your feelings. In the case of the story and the movie, Ariel's mutism actually harmed her chances with Eric, because she was unable to tell the truth and Eric was in love with her voice initially. And in reality, men don't want to pursue women who are quote-unquote broken or have an imperfection. It's the sad truth, they want their girls to be perfect, and having a disability like mutism has historically been considered an imperfection. The point of the relationship is that Eric has to let go of his idea of a perfect girl, one with a dazzling voice in his case. As Grimsby, his servant, says, "Far better than any dream girl is one of flesh and blood, one warm, caring, and right before your eyes," indicating Ariel. And while Ariel did give up her voice, she didn't give up her personality. She was still energetic and quirky and daring and able to express that without her voice. And that's what Eric fell for. Leading to the second criticism a lot of feminists give. That Ariel changed everything about herself just for some guy she just met. True, it was kind of extreme for an instance of love at first sight, but she did not become human just for Eric. Before she met him, she had this whole song of wanting to become human and living among the people, and to satisfy her curiosity. And the cute guy was really just the final driving force. And it's this aspect that I relate to as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Now, I understand the theory I'm about to present might be much, but considering this movie had the same lyricist as Beauty and the Beast, it's not too far of a jump. If you'll remember from the episode analyzing Disney's Beauty and the Beast, when gay lyricist Howard Ashman worked on the film, he introduced a lot of gay subtext into his songs, including this line from the mob song: "We don't like what we don't understand, in fact it scares us, and this monster is mysterious at least." As a way to represent homophobia as it was rising in the 1990s due to the AIDS pandemic. It was a pretty serious time. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of his songs in The Little Mermaid, such as Part of Your World, contain some of that subtext as well. I mean, think about it. This girl feels like she's destined to be something other than what she was born as, and just wants to feel comfortable in her own body. But everyone tells her that there's only one way for her to live, and her father also flies off the handle when her love interest isn't what he expected. So she goes through a painful transformation and explores a new world and has never felt more alive in her life, but unable to tell the one she loves what she truly is. Even if she could, just imagine the fear of rejection when you tell someone you are not what you appear to be. And they'll still you if they know. Yeah, my fellow LGBT peeps out there, is this sounding familiar to you at all? I may be overthinking it, but I know that I myself have always felt different and am still afraid to tell people I know that I'm a biromantic asexual, and no matter how comfortable I am with myself. And honestly, being born one thing, but feeling like you're destined to be something else, that sounds like something that my trans friends have gone through from what they've described to me. It may be a stretch, but I think there's a lot we can relate to this movie that we just haven't seen before. You can also see this story as an interracial or cultural relationship, especially with Daddy's disapproval and prejudice. Which is why it's not inappropriate to have a black actress cast as Ariel in the live-action adaptation. I think it just adds to the theme of cultural acceptance. Wow, now this story is really relevant to today. Okay, not saying any of this was Andersen's original intention. It clearly wasn't the way he wrote the story, but the Disney team clearly had some other things in mind when they created it. Maybe it wasn't what I proposed, but they totally took a different direction. There have been some other LGBT interpretations and theories about this movie, which, frankly, I don't agree with, and I'm going to state my case on them. One of them is the theory of Ursula being a lesbian. I will confirm that she was modeled after a drag queen, but that's not why she's been labeled as gay. It's her flamboyant demeanor and presumably flirtatious behavior around Ariel. Now, okay, one, you can't judge people's sexuality based on attitude or behavior because not all gays are the same. And two, you'll rethink that flirty behavior with Ariel when you know she's actually Ariel's aunt. It wasn't stated in the film, but that was in the original script and used in the Broadway stage adaptation. It also explains Ursula's rage being banished by her own brother. So yeah, she wasn't flirting with her own niece. That'd be gross. Now, I don't mind if people want to theorize if certain characters are gay, but you should do it solely based on who they're attracted to, not how they act as a character. Because gays don't just share the same character traits. Okay, and which goes to the second theory people have had. Apparently there's a running joke of Eric being gay. Eric, Prince Eric, being gay. Who's the girl? Purely on the basis that he wasn't attracted to many girls and was hesitant to kiss Ariel. Okay, as an asexual, I can confirm not being attracted to every member of the opposite sex doesn't make you gay. And not kissing a girl on the first date doesn't make you gay either. Actually, it makes you a gentleman. And how was he to know she was under a spell? Frankly, it's a step up from those other princes who kissed girls in their sleep. You know, now I'm wondering if Eric is somewhere on the ace spectrum. That'd be an interesting theory. Okay, but bottom line, don't judge people's sexuality because they have a certain character trait. The only thing that defines sexuality is who you're attracted to. I will admit the romance in this movie, like most Disney films, is pretty fast. Hopefully they'll develop it a little bit more in the live-action adaptation. But at the heart of it, it's not so much a romance, but a film about a father coming to accept his daughter. So, here's how this relates to Father's Day. King Triton's given a lot of beef for being an authoritarian parent, but the whole point of the movie is for him to overcome his fear of losing his daughter. Even the best of fathers have their flaws. Frankly, he goes through more of a character journey than Ariel does. Prejudiced against humans because, well, they eat fish. Naturally. And it was confirmed in the prequel, Ariel's Beginning, that his wife had been killed by humans, so his, anger is understandable. And naturally, he doesn't want his daughter to be hurt, but also he doesn't trust her enough to make her own decisions. Granted, Ariel is reckless, but she is able to take care of herself, as witnessed by how she dealt with a shark attack. But it's better to sit down and talk to your daughter rather than yell at them and destroy all their things. Even the best of fathers can lose their temper at times, not necessarily in an abusive way. Triton, at least, was aware of his harshness. But because he didn't take the time to listen to his daughter and come to a compromise, Ariel ended up taking matters into her own hands and sought help from the shady sea witch. This is how your kids end up doing drugs, okay? Really, Triton could have at any time given her human legs. He just had to accept that his daughter was different and allow her to live her own life, even if it meant letting her live far away from him. So here's a message to you fathers out there. If your kid is different, or they love someone of a different race, religion, or someone of the same sex, listen to them. Be supportive as long as they are not hurting anybody. Let them live their own life. Otherwise, they might seek support elsewhere that might not be to their advantage. Sea witch. Your children look to you for guidance, so guide them. Don't shelter them. So happy Father's Day. Love you, Dad. Love you, Grandpa Don. Love you, Grandpa Jer, who's up in heaven right now. Guess what, Grandpa Jer? I love women too. Sorry I never got to tell you. Alright, that got a little deep there. Alright, I went through this faster than I thought I would. So, anybody have any questions or comments? While you're thinking that, a little bit of Little Mermaid trivia. There is a Little Mermaid statue in honor of the fairy tale in Denmark right now. The Little Mermaid has 2 sequels, well, 1 sequel and 1 prequel, and also a spin-off TV series. I love the TV series so much. I think that really developed Ariel's relationship with her father a lot more. Oh, Anime Guy 1101. No, because I just got here after work. Well, sorry about that, but I've kind of gone over the whole topic already. Oh well. But while you're here, so I am going to be going back to work in July. It looks like the theater I work at is going to be reopening. So after my podcast next week, I'm going to be going back to doing bi-weekly recordings, and there's going to be some changes on how I do things. So that's just a heads up to you guys. Like, if you don't see podcasts the week after the next one, then that is why. Alright, so any questions on The Little Mermaid, either the story or the movie, and do you really think the theory I presented on it relating to the LGBT community is a bit of a stretch? Yeah, to sum it up, I think the movie at the heart is about a girl who just wants to feel comfortable in her own body and be herself, and her father having to accept that this is who she is. Now, okay, I have to mention this one. So, Bella Pink Savage, like, your trans best friend even thought of it like that. That's good to know. Okay, so I'm not the only one to think that. Okay. Okay, well, if no one has any questions this time, I think I've pretty much covered everything I have to say. We will look at something a little less serious, but also relating to the LGBTQ plus community, our last episode before Pride Month ends. Thanks to Anime Guy 1101's suggestion, I watched an anime featuring a same-sex Beauty and the Beast relationship, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. It's only 13 episodes long, available on the Funimation app, and it's a fun show to binge for those of you still on lockdown. And like I said, after that, I'll be going back to work. Okay, Anime Guy 1101, did you already go over the original story being written by a gay man? You know what? I don't know about Hans Christian Andersen's sexuality as a whole. I know he did have 2 tragic romances with girls, but I haven't heard of him having any male lovers. But if you know something I don't, please feel free to share. Okay, if you did fall in love with a guy, I didn't know about it. I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah, sorry if I didn't know that. Okay, so that's what I always heard. He was a closeted gay, unless I was wrong. I haven't heard of that. I mean, I do know that he had some sort of behavior problem. It might have been somewhere on the autism spectrum, but that's all I can gather. And I know he did have like at least 2 failed romances with women, but that's as far as I know. Like, but if he was bi, then I wouldn't know. Alright, and then 5 gold beans from Rose1920. Alright, you have a question or comment you would like to add, or was that just because? Okay, so that was just because. So, remember, next week we'll be covering Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and then I'll be returning to bi-weekly recordings. I want to thank all of you who've been supporting me while I've been out of work. And Bella Pink Savage, sending 30 gold beans. Glad you're doing a lot better since last week, DF. Just know you will always have your friends and fans who love and support you. Well, thank you very much. I think I'm going to have to end this soon because my voice is going out. Alright, so remember, if you'd like to support this channel, become a patron today, go shop on Redbubble, and thank you for all that you guys have done. Alright, until next time, and remember, respect your children's wishes, don't waste time chasing dream girls, and don't trade your voice and risk your soul because you have a crush on a guy that you just met. At least in the mermaid story, she waited a while. Still, no crush is worth dying for. Yeah. Suicide's bad. Don't do it. And embrace the gay. Alright? Until next time.